Our fourth speaker will let us know all about electric vehicles and the market around that one. And I'm pleased to welcome Juha Stenberg, CIO for Ensto Chago. What's it? Chago. So, there you go. Now fix your presentation.
Good afternoon. My name is Juha Stenberg, and I come from a Finnish family company called Ensto. The life has been good for the last 60 years for Ensto, which is a family company, but of course there are lots of turbulence in the business environment at the moment. We don't know what happens, but definitely it will not be a copy-paste of the last 60 years. There will be lots of changes. Ensto is a company that is producing different type of components and solutions for energy networks, buildings, houses, and electric vehicle charging. I represent the electric vehicle charging, but of course I will also talk about the Ensto as a total. And of course, we believe that the smart city will be powered by smart electricity. There are lots of changes in the market. We see that the mega trends are basically same for any industry. Digitalization is of course one thing that we are facing. Basically, fundamental thing is that the cost of the product doesn't matter. It's the value of the data that matters. So there will be definitely a change in the business models and probably a change also in the companies who will master that. The social change will happen. People are living longer, and they are living longer in the at homes. Urbanization, 1 billion people will be living in megacities in the next 15 years, new people. And about 70% of these people are living in Asia. So, sorry, Europe is not the market which is growing. It's the Asia. And I used to work 10 years ago for Ericsson. And that time it was more cat and dog game between Ericsson and Nokia. You know, which one is the bigger. And today, Chinese manufacturer Huawei is bigger than Ericsson and Nokia together. That tells what happens in 10 years, and that happened in telecoms. And of course, it will swipe many industries, the rise of Asia. You were talking about Singapore and Hong Kong, India. These big markets will fundamentally change the game in any industry. And then, of course, it will change the games in our home markets. Sustainability. Of course, there was this one election a couple of weeks ago. Some people are saying it will change something in regards to the Paris Treaty. Well, we will see that, but of course, we have to change our way of using resources, producing energy. Otherwise, we are just too many people on this globe. And then the shift of economic power, meaning that, of course, in the markets where the growth is, there is also the economical power. And it will be likely be in India, China, Indonesia, markets like that. Unfortunate for the Europe is that we are the old continent with 28 countries, several different cultures, languages. We all are alone, too little to compete on the market. We can find some niche markets, but let's see what happens. Will there be more consolidation in the European level? Because otherwise, countries like Finland, Sweden, Estonia are really a small player in the global economy. how we see the smart city. There are lots of different smart elements in the smart city. And we have identified the 3 areas where we are focusing on. And then the difficult part is that since, let's say, 95% of our turnover comes from the products, but as I said, the importance of the future smart cities is actually the data and the end user services that are delivered. How companies like Ensto can turn their business model into a way that you might, yes, monetize your business with the products, but actually the value of the solutions is delivered, maybe combining services, data, partnering with different companies, creating own ecosystems to participate. And so we have identified the ecosystems, which is the smart grid, because we have 60 years of history of providing different services and products for energy companies. So it's a logical step to continue on that path. Then we are focusing on the smart transportation, which basically touches quite a lot of the EV, so electric vehicles, autonomous driving, car sharing, these kind of new business opportunities. And then the third one is the smart building. It can be both the residential, so the homes, but it can be office buildings like that, where companies and regulators, end users, property owners are expecting more than just that the lights get on when you turn the switch, or the heating is turned on when the temperature outside gets colder. And then a little bit what we are doing in this area. The smart grid area is the biggest business within our company, and we are delivering our products and services to around 40 countries at the moment. Basically, most of them are located in Europe, but then we also have a factory in India where we are growing our business in that market. Then the second one is the building, which is both the residential and office buildings. I would say that at the moment the office buildings are growing a lot because, of course, in the cities, at the same time you are building business parks where you want to control your light, electricity, ventilation, heating in a smart way. And then the third one is the transportation, and as I said, this is how we look at that, is that the electricity will be the, maybe not major, but important way of transporting vehicles in the future. But also it will change business models, and there will be new type of businesses around that. And of course then in a company like Ensto, and we are 1,700 people altogether, so we are not big company, but not quite small. And we have also realized that, okay, alone we cannot do that, so we are looking for different kind of ecosystems and partners where we can be part of a more complete package, because as I said, we believe that the competitors in the future will likely come from the emerging markets, and they are likely a lot bigger than we are, and they have certain benefits on their side, which is of course the growing home market, which is growing a lot, the cost level in this market is totally different than compared to, for example, in Europe, and also the knowledge and population's age diversity. So there are lots of young people, educated people entering the market. So so working together with different companies is very important for us to succeed. Then for the electromobility, how we see, of course the main driver has been the local emissions or global emissions, meaning CO2 on the global level, and then the local emissions, which is the carbon monoxides in the cities. And it's now in this field, it's actually quite interesting phase. I don't know how many of you have followed what Mr. Trump is promising now since he has been elected. So basically he's saying that maybe USA will turn back the clock and go to the combustion engines, so diesels and benzene cars. It might well be that, for example, China will be the mega power when it comes to electric vehicles, because they have committed to quite hard targets when it comes to the transportation and especially electricity in that field. Then it's the urbanization. If you look outside any city, there are lots of people living in the cities, but if you are going to have your electric vehicle, how are you going to charge? Because normally you park your car outside at the street, and what we are seeing in basically most of the cities where we are talking, the cities are very reluctant to promote electric vehicles in the cities. So basically people want to have a car, but they cannot charge it. So it's a little bit problematic. And then the third one is that, I don't know, I have two sons that are both over 20, and 50% of them have a driver's license. So young people are actually maybe not even interested in owning a car. So the public transportation and all kinds of new modes of transporting are rising up. Of course, it can be car sharing where you need electric vehicle or driver's license, but we don't know if in the future cities the car will be a property of your own. Will you have your own driver's license? And as I said, we have a history of 60 years, and likely all these things will take place within the next 10 years. So it's a very short time in that term, you know, the speed of the business models and technique, how it's developing. And I don't know. So for Ensto, this is how we see the smart city. There are lots of new business opportunities in that field. Very likely, most of them are not located in Europe, and we need to partner with different companies and institutions to be competitive in the future market. Thank you.
Thank you. Actually, we have time for a question or two, because you've been very good at keeping time here as speakers. Is there anyone who has any question about this interesting field? Electrical vehicles and everything. Okay, then I have one question. So, there you go. So, what's your opinion about this with all these electrical vehicles, and when do you think it's going to be a boom? When do you think was actually When do you see it happening?
Well, it's already booming in our neighbor, Norway. I think 35% of the new cars in Norway are now electric. Of course, Norway is the leading market globally when it comes to the electric vehicles. Sweden is actually starting to rise. It's very much dependent on the public incentives. So how the taxation is done, what kind of incentives there are for the end users. And there was this Volkswagen scandal about a year ago, and that resulted a situation that many of the car manufacturers have turned their strategy, and they are now focusing more on the electric vehicles. So we see that basically all major existing car manufacturers are focusing on the electric vehicles. I don't know how many of you are driving with the electric vehicle here? 1, 2. So I would say that if we would have the same meeting in 3 years, 25% of the people would drive with the electric vehicles.
And the grid, the Swedish grid, will that as well develop and be in the same developing phase as all these electrical cars?
Yes, because of course it's a challenge for the energy companies. Yeah. Basically, if you think what will happen, people are driving to home 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and they are connecting their car to the charger. So there is, of course, a peak load in the system. So the energy companies are very interested in smart solutions where they can then shift the charging times so that they don't need to charge all the cars at the same time. No. So these kind of systems are definitely required in most of the markets. And then of course you see that in the homes people are installing solar panels to their homes. Maybe in a couple of years also some kind of batteries are coming to the homes. So we start to see these kind of like off-grid buildings. So people are more independent in that term. So
interesting. Thank you. Oh, question.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, we will repeat the question. Okay. Yep. Yes, tell us a question.
So Estonia was the first country in the world to who implemented full national infrastructure for charging electric vehicles, and it's also quite fast. It's only 30 minutes for 35 drivers to do that. So are you somehow cooperating with the Swedish government to do that, or maybe there are some lessons there?
Could you? Are we cooperating? What? Yeah. So the question was that Estonia was the first country to build national-wide fast charging network. I think it was 2011-12. Basically, it means that I think Estonia has of course, being a smaller country geographically, it has about 170 charging locations, and this maximum distance is something like 35 kilometers between. So people can charge all over the country. Are we cooperating in that network? Yes and no. We have business in Estonia as well. The Estonian network was built by the municipalities or the so it's like a public network, and we don't have a direct link with that system. So it's basically a backbone for the country, so that people can charge their electric vehicle when they are traveling maybe longer distances. So as we see generally in the electric vehicle charging, there will be lots of places where chargers are needed. The home is the prime, so you need to have a home charger if you are going to have a car, then you will have chargers in offices, you will have chargers in the movie theaters, sport arenas, train stations, basically wherever you are parking your car. So it's a good thing that there is a network like that. It's a basement, but of course then there will be lots of other places where chargers are needed.
Just repeat the question.
You mentioned the home chargers. Now the Tesla has learned the hard way that home chargers don't work because people have public chargers, they use those and they don't charge at home if they can avoid it. How do you combat this situation?
Okay, so the question was about home charging and Tesla, because Tesla is building a private so-called supercharger network, and people who are owning Tesla today can charge their Tesla in these superchargers free of charge. And how we see that. First of all, my personal opinion is that Tesla will be one of the biggest energy companies in the future. I think that is their hidden agenda, because they have a 80 kilowatt battery on the wheels, and so it's only first episode that they are selling cars and building superchargers. Soon they will start to utilize that asset on the other markets. And then they already have launched their battery system. Now they launched the roof solar panel, so you can build a roof on your house, which works at the same time as solar panel. So definitely Tesla is an interesting company to follow in terms of energy, and it might wipe, companies like Vattenfall, Fortum, and these very fast. Fundamentally, it doesn't change the idea. You need to charge. You want to charge your car easily, and it's very easy if you do it at home. The question is, what is the business model? And it's up to the Teslas and energy companies to decide what is the business model.
Interesting, really interesting. Last question. Yes, go ahead.
You refer to electrical vehicles only as cars. Do you see any other vehicles?
So the question was that I refer electric vehicles only as cars. Do I see any other vehicles? Public transportation, buses, of course. That's probably happening quite fast, that cities are modernizing their transport, so buses, bicycles, probably quite many. It might take a while until we see electric aeroplanes, but who knows?
Interesting. Thank you.
Okay.